Hello everybody, and thanks for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a full-time reseller. I resell clothing, vintage items, anything and everything really. I resell on Poshmark, Etsy, eBay, Mercari, and Relove. So today's gonna be just like a story time video on why I stopped going to the bins. The bins are just a Goodwill outlet. And the reason they're called the bins, if you're not familiar with the bins, there are literally tons of clothing and hard goods that get dumped into these just giant bins. That's why they're called the bins in the reseller community. I know a lot of resellers who only shop at the bins. You pay by the pound. My bins, I think, is like $1.29 a pound. You can get like 20 tank tops for $1.29 if they're lightweight. I mean, it's really practical if you're someone who doesn't have a lot to spend on inventory, as you really don't have to take the risk of paying, hundreds of dollars for inventory, because it does add up if you're shopping at like Goodwill. So why I stopped shopping at the bins. You guys know I'm like the least judgmental person. I don't care where you get your clothes from. If you get them from rummage sales, if you crawled into a dumpster behind IHOP and found a pair of jeans and put them on Poshmark, as long as they're cleaned up, like there's no judgment here. So this is not a negative video. I'm just explaining why I stopped going to the bins, because I used to love the bins. So the first time I went to the bins with the reseller mindset, with the idea of flipping items, which I knew a lot of people did. I knew most of the people at the bins were resellers themselves. So right away, I felt like a really immense pressure of, wow, the competition. And I'm not one for competition. When it comes to like competition within the online sales community, like, oh, you have this listed for 30, I'm gonna list mine for 28. Like, yeah, that kind of competition, you kind of have to be competitive as a reseller. But I mean like the physical competition of being in a giant warehouse with 50 other sweaty resellers. I felt the pressure like right away. I'm also a mother. I have 3 boys and 2 almost stepsons, and I have them with me almost all the time. But it's not practical for me to go to the bins because I have to have the double stroller, I have to have the snacks, I have to keep my kids from crawling in the bins, getting their hands dirty. It's just not very practical. Another reason that I quit going to the bins, really what was just the straw that broke the camel's back, because I could deal with the little bit of competition. I would just troop through it. I could deal with keeping my kids busy. I mean, that's what you do as a mom. But what really did me in was I had found some gross things at the bins before. I found a dirty Q-tip. I found some goldfish crackers that were crushed up at the bottom. So I'm not sure if those got dumped in there on accident or if they were put in there by somebody who was at the bins and maybe their kids threw it in there. I don't know. But I had found some dirty stuff, but whatever. Everything I bought from the bins, I would wash it and steam it anyway. The last time I had gone to the bins, I haven't been back since. So I was doing my normal thing. I was digging through the bins. They had just rolled out like 7 new bins. They rang the bell or whatever they do so that everybody knew they were allowed to touch them. And I got super excited. I had gloves on. I saw a tag, a Victoria's Secret tag. It was one of their newer tags. And I kind of just pulled it out. And I saw that it came with this really beautiful like little bralette, like lace. And then it kind of was like this velvety material. And it went into this, little bottom, pair of panties or whatever. It was lingerie. And I got so excited. I'm like, new with tags, Victoria's Secret lingerie. Like, this stuff retails for a lot. I'll be able to sell this for like 30, 40 bucks. Put it in my cart, went about my trip, and right before I was about to check out, I was going through everything, and I was inspecting the lingerie. I mean, they're new with tags. Like, how much inspecting do you need to do? There was a streak, to put it lightly, of vaginal discharge. At this point, it was crusty. It was gray in color. It was crackling. And I'm not talking like, oh, somebody tried this on in a dressing room and, you know, had a little oopsie daisy experience in the hoo-ha area. Like this was, it looked like somebody threw this on. It looked like somebody wore it to a strip club, like on amateur night, and just danced throughout the whole night, maybe fondled around a little bit, took them off. I don't know. How does it happen? How does that much? And I'm not making this up. I know this sounds really dramatic, and if I were a viewer, I'd be like, yeah, okay, you're doing this for the views. I don't know how it happened. There was just caked on vaginal discharge on these brand new with tags. Like, I was looking at the tag. I was so confused. Like, I was disgusted. I was like, I know. Everything in my cart had to go. I walked out. I mean, that was beyond anything I had experienced as a reseller. Like, there's no excuse for that. I know that the Goodwill employees, I think they do their best to sort through it. I don't know why they wouldn't check the crotch for a stain. Maybe because it was new with tags. I don't know. Did they even sort it? I don't know. But that was really the straw that broke the camel's back, because I'm like, ugh. So that was the last time I went to the bins. So I guess, you know, the top 3 reasons, like I said, it was just the cleanliness, which, I mean, if you're a reseller and you're going to the bins, that's totally fine. Obviously, you're going to make sure your items are clean before they get to the actual buyer, right? So I'm not worried about that. Like, I would buy something on Poshmark knowing it was from the bins, because I would just trust that the seller had already cleaned it up. But the fact that I actually have to be the one to get my hands dirty, it's not my thing right now. Going with kids and being super competitive. Another reason, the building, it's huge. It's not ventilated very well. It kind of has a stank to it. And I just feel like the people are rude. The employees are rude, because it's so overwhelming. There's hundreds of thousands of pieces. And instead of being able to select a category like, oh, I'm going to go through the pants, or I'm going to go through the dresses or the shirts like I can do at Goodwill, you have to like go over pillowcases, and then there's comforters, and then there's vintage curtains that have cigarette burns in them, and you have to lift up a vintage curtain and do all this digging to find like maybe an Ann Taylor top with a hole in it if you're lucky. And people do find great things at the bins. I'm never the first one to go through the bin, because I'm not competitive. Like, I'm not going to push my way through, especially when I have my kids with me. So those are the main reasons that I no longer go to the Goodwill bins. I'm sure I will be back. I have to take a breather after the bad peony incident that I had. But who knows? Maybe a year from now, I might only go to the bins. I don't know. But as far as my reseller strategy and what works for me right now, the bins are from me. I did just make a video maybe 4 or 5 months ago comparing the Goodwill bins versus the stores, and it came out, as far as the profit for me, it came out pretty even. But I didn't spend a lot of time at the bins, and I didn't spend a lot of time at the stores. So I guess it's really just how you like to shop, how you like to source. I know a lot of people who love going to rummage sales, and I know people who source on eBay. I know people who source through the Facebook Marketplace. I try to source through every method that I can, but my main thing is really just thrift stores, brick and mortar thrift stores, and rummage sales, garage sales. Those are good too if you know which areas to go to. They can be. But yeah, thank you for listening to my story time on why I no longer go to the Goodwill bins. And as always, if you want to see more reseller related content in the future, subscribe to my channel. And my Instagram link is actually in the bio. So if you want to go follow me on Instagram, my name is honey.rags. And from there's a link tree to most of my platforms that I resell on. So as always, happy selling.